Hi, are you like me? Are you trying to stay fit? You try to use all those fancy apps and you just didn't know what to do with them? You didn't want to pay a lot of money for an Apple Watch or a Fitbit? Well, have I got the answer for you. The newest, the best, the Slim Master Electronic Jogger. Patent has been applied for. Check out what you get in this awesome, handy suitcase that you can carry with wherever you go. There's, I don't know, some pads of some sort. Some kind of thing like this. So obviously I have no clue what this is. I just picked this up at a garage sale. So let's check it out. So I paid $5 for this beauty. It's got the required dust, dirt, and disease on it. So that's always great. Rusted out handles. Let's take a closer look. It is a kind of neat looking setup. And it does have these handy straps so that you can actually strap this thing in. There's these pads. I think they're, oh my God. So they're two different pads. I'm assuming they open, there we go. So they must open up. I've seen better days. But two pads, and again, a way to connect to this babe. I actually bought it just because I love the colors and the dials on this thing. So these things have broken apart. I tried to open them all the way and they just cracked. What's interesting is there's only one connector. And it doesn't seem like there's a way to connect it to the other side. So my guess is this doesn't even have any electronics in it. All the electronics are in here. So you could just be doing 1 foot jogging and get away with it. The manual does confirm this because it says your jogging is measured in steps per minute and a step being counted when the right foot hits the pad. So that's the only place that there is a sensor. Closer look. So it says the slow jog is green, 60 to 80 jogs per minute, and I guess you probably measure it in here. And then the fast jog is in the orange. You seemingly set it. I think this is probably just a timer. Look at this toggle switch for power. Work the money alone. Adjust to 80. Hold to adjust, a light, cord, and instructions. A tested method of exercise available to men and women of all ages. Jogging with your Slim Master Jogger, model 3330. This is apparently from a company called Central Quality Industries. So let me check this out and see if I can get it working. So this whole complicated thing is quite simple. Basically what you do is you're going to turn this timer, this is just a timer, to about how long you want to jog for. And you can either do a fast jog, orange, or slow jog, green. So let's say I say, well, I want to do 10 minutes of a slow jog, of a fast jog. It means I'm going to do about between 1 and 1.5 miles. So that's going to be about 1 1/3 miles. If I want to do a slow jog, in 10 minutes I'll do 1. And then basically what's going to happen is you're going to jog on those foot pads. And if you're doing the slow jog, green, you're trying to keep the needle in the green area. And if you do that, then theoretically you cover that 1 mile. If you keep it in the orange area in 10 minutes, again, you're covering, a little bit less than 1.5 miles. I've plugged it in. I have not plugged in the sensors pad yet, but I want to see if the light comes on. Ooh, it does. And it didn't blow up. So that's good. Guess I'll try setting the timer to see if it works. Oh boy. And then I'm going to return it. Oh yeah, okay. So I'm at like 3 minutes. The back here, it does have this handy leg so that you can put it down and then keep this at an angle that would provide better viewing. All right, so we're coming up on the time. I love that sound. And it's just, again, awesome. Like that this whole thing is a friggin' timer. So what I gotta try now is actually plugging in the feet pads and see if I can get it to work and register on the joggometer. So the manual reinforces what it says here. You have to have an 8-inch high jogging stride to produce accurate jogging pace. So it says here again that it's important to get the proper benefit from running in place. Your feet must be raised a minimum of 8 inches from the pad. The jogging meter is calibrated for this 8-inch height. So here's 8 inches. Right, that's not too bad, I guess. The manual goes on about leg action and how you're supposed to move, proper arm action, and very helpfully, it tells you to breathe with your mouth open, inhaling and exhaling large amounts of air. The manual says there's a jogging program for you. It tells you got to kind of set it up yourself. You can read some books to figure it out. It does give you a chart. A 10-week program is what they suggest. The setup here, it's kind of awkward, but I have plugged in the pads. It goes up to the machine and then obviously plugged it into the wall. It tells you that you have to recalibrate the jog meter by holding down the adjusting button and then turning the knob so that the needle is set to 80. So I'm gonna power it on, I'll hold adjust, and so that's at least helpful. So yeah, okay. So that part's working. So now obviously the big question will be this and whether this is going to actually register anything. All right, so we're going to test this thing out. I'm not so sure that I have a lot of hope it'll work, but we'll see what happens. I have it set for about 5 minutes. I'm going to record with this as well and see if the jog meter reads as I start. Oh my gosh, you can hear the vinyl breaking. So it is registering something. Oh, actually, I'm already in slow jog. At a fast jog, which it doesn't feel like, right? I don't feel like I'm going at a fast pace. I may not be doing 8 inches, which may be throwing it off. So, I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. It takes a while for it to go back down. So I don't know if that's doing anything. So 8 inches. Am I doing 8 inches? I don't know. So maybe this is 8 inches. So it's registering something. Again, it seems like it's giving me a lot more credit than I'm due. But let's take a look inside and see what's going on. So one thing I've already noticed, this one, the left one, which doesn't have any sensors in it, is maybe a 1/16 of an inch thinner. Because it's broken, you can see it is just foam. Foam and a piece of, I don't know what they call that. And it's quite lightweight. This piece is definitely heavier. So I'm gonna try to look inside here because it's like, it's gotta be like next to nothing technology-wise. It's not like it's some computer chip. So this piece will not just pull out. It is bolted in. You're gonna see that there's 1, 2, 3 screws. 3 screws removed easily, even though there was a bit of rust on the washers. And then this just pulled right out. There's some screws on the top. Let's see what there's on the bottom. It actually doesn't look like there's any screws on the bottom, so I may actually not have needed to unbolt it. So I guess what I'll do is do these 8 screws. Apparently I can't count. 9, 10 screws. 10 little screws came out. And I figured I was going to probably have to pop the knobs, but it actually looks like, yeah, so it's going to come off without having to do that. So there's just the timer bell, the power light. This is this on-off switch. This is a pot to recalibrate this, reset button. And then this is whatever it is, the brains of the unit. This is tied to the jog meter. It looks like the board is bolted. The bolts were easy to remove. And now, this will come off. And the question is, how does it even friggin' interact with the gauge? This is the gauge, right? And I don't even see that there's a connection with it. All right, so I got a little too excited. So you can see that there's the 2 kind of washers there do have a trace going to them. And when I looked at this, I saw that there was a positive. And so I've actually hooked up a small lead. I got to a one C cell or D cell, whatever it is. And oh my gosh. So look at that. So that actually makes it go all the way to the top, just 1.5 volts. So it's seemingly a very sensitive voltmeter. They're calling it a jog meter, but it's a very sensitive voltmeter, I would assume. I have this basically dead battery that's registering about 0.26. So let's see what that shows on the jog meter. So let's see. Oh, so even that, it's bleeding it out, but so, okay. So you at least get some sense that, you know, that this thing is measuring up to maybe, I don't know, 1/4 volt, 1/2 volt, something like that. So with the understanding that this is a glorified voltmeter, the question is, how does it take my mechanical energy of stepping and convert it to electrical energy? So we'll try to take a look at that sensor. So there's no obvious, easy way to disassemble this. There's obviously no screws or any connectors here on the top part. And on the bottom, there's also nothing. There are these 2 like rivets, I guess you would call them. I could always screw those out, but there's something else. Glue, probably, holding this. So the question is whether I try to get in there or not, so I can see what's going on. I've tried all sorts of things, and I'm not going to get this bad boy apart. It is glued like crazy. But I at least have a sense of what's going on here. This thing here, again, which was glued to the foam and glued to this board here, is a plate of some sort. It's a sensor plate. And if you see here, here's the wire coming in. 1/2 of the wire goes on the top, 1/2 of the wire goes on the bottom. There's similar things in old joysticks where there's a teeny little bit of space in between, and then when you press the joystick, a little thing comes over and squishes them together. That's the same thing that must be happening here. So there you see that sensor plate, and even with my fingers, I can kind of bring it together. So again, that's got to be in some way, shape, or form how it's working. The two metal plates are not connected. So here's the top, here's the bottom. This is tape, and there's tape on the other sides too. So that's again what keeps them from touching normally until they're stepped on. You can see the little foam piece here. There must be some of them in there that prevent it from always touching, right? If there's nothing in between it, they would always touch would be a problem. So there must be at least some of these pieces interspersed to keep it from touching until it's stepped on. So I wasn't able to leave it well enough alone. I really wanted to see if the Slim Master could accurately record my jogs and my number of steps. I realized that if I did 1 step per second, it should read 60 on the jog meter. And so initially when I did actually do 1 step per second, it was showing about 90 jogs per minute. So obviously it was not calibrated. It was reading about 50% too high. So I decided to play with that adjust 80 knob. And I saw that the lowest it would go is just a little bit below 60. And if I adjusted it all the way up, it was actually off the chart. So it was actually past 100. So I played with this knob, did the walk, adjusted it back and forth, and what I finally found was if I adjusted it to 60, I actually got an accurate reflection of how quickly I was walking. So I would walk 1 walk per second, and it would show 60 jogs per minute. So that was actually working. I'm not sure why I had to adjust it down to 75% of what it was supposed to be, right? I had to adjust it to 60 when it was supposed to be 80. So I wondered if weight mattered. I thought, maybe it's calibrated for somebody who's about 166 pounds, which is what the CDC said the average man weighed back in, the 60s or 70s. I actually had my wife and my daughter try it. It didn't look like it made a difference. Again, the jog meter is such that it's really hard to get like a precise measurement, but it didn't seem like weight had a huge difference on the outcome. Then I wondered if doing like the full 8-inch step would matter, right? I felt like I wasn't doing that, so I went and did like an exaggerated 8-inch step. And I did that 8-inch step while making sure I was still doing the 1 step per second. But when it was set at 80, I still got between 80 and 90 steps per minute. So the height of my step was not the factor that would make this thing inaccurate. Kind of on a side note, I was wondering like what would happen if I just stepped on the thing and just kind of kept my weight on it. Thought that it would give me a steady measurement, right? Because I would have all my weight on it and it should give me a steady measurement. But actually what happened is it initially went up to about 30, but then it slowly dropped back down towards 0. So it seemed like there's something in the circuitry that kind of allowed for that and kind of canceled out for if you just stood on it. So really the only way I was able to get an accurate measurement was if I had it set at 60. I'm not sure if this is because this thing is old and it's gotten it accurate in time, or if it was always kind of just ineffective and inefficient. I love this thing nonetheless. It's crazy big, but again, the fact that there was a time when this device was, top-notch, high-tech, way to keep track of your fitness, I think is fantastic. The fact that it doesn't rely on any kind of computer chip, it's all in the circuitry. I wish I understood what I was looking at when I was looking at that board and how somehow they turn that mechanical energy of the step into some sort of reading was kind of neat. Thanks for watching. Please consider a thumbs up. Remember, a thumbs up never hurt nobody. And maybe even consider subscribing. Be sure to add a comment if you have some thoughts on this device. Thanks.